city kids, renegades. And my aunt who raised me used to spank me a lot. I used to get a lot of, what do you say, licking in Trinidad for beating pan because back then in 1963, 64, people like me didn't play pan. It was mostly the bad guys. And I didn't understand. My aunt was trying to protect me.
Understood. Cedric Luces joins us this morning, and we're speaking about the journey of a Panman, a memoir. Cedric, good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, you just gave us a little excerpt of your book, and this book is incredibly special because it is your story, your life.
Yeah.
What made you decide that it was time to write your story?
Well, I've been through so many things in my life, and I try to tell people, and they're fascinated with my story. And my story is not the normal story. There's so many things that happened in my life that I just had to tell my story.
So when you say your story is not a normal story, can you maybe walk us through just a touch of your story?
Well, getting involved in the pan in Trinidad at a young age, my aunt, just after I turned 17 years old, I got into, the violent part of the culture that was associated with pan. So I got expelled from Belmont Intermediate for fighting 3 months before I was supposed to graduate from school. So I never finished high school. And my aunt at the time told my mom, who was living in Venezuela at the time, you got to get him out of Trinidad because he's going to end up in jail on drugs or something, because the people that he was hanging out with this steelpan culture, he's going down the wrong way.
So you were very much around in that space of time where there was a negative connotation attached to steelpan.
Exactly. And I got to Venezuela, not knowing, my aunt sent me to Venezuela, and my mother, coincidentally, had just left Venezuela to move to America.
Okay.
She left when I was 3 months old. I was born in Trinidad. I never knew who my father was. He was an American soldier that was stationed in Chaguaramas base. And my mother had 5 children, 4 of whom were fathered by different American soldiers who all left the island. So my mother was raising 5 kids on her own. And when the Americans left Trinidad in 49 to 50, said they were going to Korea. They all left, and a lot of the girls, like my mom, who had all these children for Americans, were now being ostracized by the local guys in Trinidad. So a lot of these women left and went to Venezuela.
Okay.
And that's how my mother ended up in Venezuela.
Okay, so you would have gone from Trinidad and Tobago to Venezuela. You were still a teenager. But it's interesting because one of the things that we see as a resonating theme, even when you got to Miami, was steelpan. So how was steelpan a critical part of your journey?
Well, as I say, when I got to Venezuela, it was to get away from pan.
Right.
I got to Venezuela and fell right back in pan. 3 months I was there. There was a band that was getting ready for the carnival. The bass player got sick. He had to come back to Trinidad. Someone found out that I played pan. They brought me, and I played for the carnival. Through the 4 years I stayed in Venezuela, which was quite an experience also, up and down. I became homeless at one point because I couldn't speak Spanish, couldn't get a job, and the lady that I was staying at, which was friends of my mother, she was a single mom with 6 kids having problems meeting ends. When I learned enough Spanish and I found out they were talking about me, I just packed my little grip, my little suitcase, and left, and I became homeless in Caracas in 1968. I was walking the streets of Caracas.
And so how did you transition from Caracas to Miami?
Well, in 1971, my mother came from America, and she got me papers to go to Miami, and I ended up migrating to Miami in 1971.
And Pan was also a resonating theme in Miami, correct? How was
Eventually,
it?
I went to Miami to get educated, and again, fell right back in the pan. I met a gentleman by the name of Otello Molino, who is a well-known jazz panist, and we became co-roommates. We rented a house, and we had one of the first jazz steel drum band in Miami in 1971. It evolved for me because by 4 years later, I realized jazz wasn't playing any money. And the guys who were playing the old standards like Yellowbird, Maria, those are the guys who were getting the jobs and making money. So I left the jazz and got back into that genre of music so I could earn a living. And from 1981, I've been working steady as a soloist pan player. I've worked at one hotel in the Florida Keys for 10 years, playing 5 days a week. I left and I went to another hotel in the Keys, Florida Keys, did another 10 years there. And then in 2008 to 2019, 12 years in the Jersey Shores in New Jersey. So I've developed a niche for myself in the entertainment business.
So, well, we can hear just from these snippets how unique your story is and what you've experienced, which we know, of course, has been poured into this book. For those who are picking up your book for the first time and reading it, what would you like them to take away from the book?
Well, through all the struggles that I've been through, because again, I during the early years in America, 71, in the music business, I fell on the drugs. I was got addicted to cocaine. People in the clubs would come and those were the days of the cocaine cowboys in Miami, and people would come to just put stuff in your hand, and eventually in 1989. I couldn't take it anymore. I was praying to God. I was in tears, and I just did some cocaine, and I drove myself to a rehab center, and I said, I need help. I need help because I have a wife and kids, and this is all wrong. And that was the beginning of a new chapter in my life.
So from hearing this, we know that obviously your journey is very dear to you and it's transformational.
Right.
But how dear is steelpan to you? What does steelpan mean to you?
Well, I realize now that steel pan is my life. If I did not have pan in my life, I would be dead right now. I wouldn't be here. I'm 76 years old right now, and last year I had cancer, prostate cancer. I went through chemotherapy 3 months. I'm 9 months now free of cancer. I also almost died because during the chemotherapy I wasn't getting exercise. I had a blood clot that moved from my leg to my lungs. I was in ICU for a week. All my kids came, I got 5 kids, they came and they're looking at me. And it was the end. Everybody, I got tubes in my mouth and they're all in tears. And the doctor came into the room and says, well, they're not sure they could do anything because the blood clot was close to my heart. And they figured I would get a heart attack and could die. And at that point I said, well, I've been here in the ICU a week. If I'm going to die, let me know. Let me die now. So let's go ahead and do whatever you have to do because I got a gig on Sunday that I got to go play. So my mind was far away from death. It was more focused on the music. So I think that's the key that keeps me going.
Yeah. And you just mentioned also you have 5 children. Have you been able to pass on your love for pan and your understanding of pan to them?
Well, I did it in the beginning, but due to my struggles with the drugs and stuff, I wanted them to do better than me. So I discouraged them from the music. I said, get an education, go to college. And today, I have one daughter who was born in Venezuela and 4 kids in America, 3 girls and a boy. And the ones in America, the oldest one, Melissa, she's a nurse. The second one, Andrea, she's a teacher. The third one is my son. He is an IT technician with Amazon.com. And my last daughter, she's in a hotel chain. They call her the rainmaker, the money maker, a big chain. She travels. So this is what my whole intention was, to steer them away from what I went through being a musician.
But it's interesting that you steered them away from that, which is understandable given your experience, but yet that the pan still remain as that positive influence as well. So
Right.
hoping that they also can appreciate the beauty of our national instrument and the way that it has positively helped you. And as we see happening now, give thanks that stigma has been removed, continuing to promote positivity in our generations to come as well.
Right.
Cedric, where can we get your book?
Right now it's on Amazon.com, and we also have it on Digital Canopy as an ebook. And we have some copies that are going to be available on Thursday night. I'm doing a show at the Cafe Blue.
Okay.
We're going to have some. We do have another book launching planned right now, so it may be something coming up later on this week. I'm here until next Monday, so I'm going to make use of my time.
Wonderful. And Cedric, if we'd like to get in contact with you, how can we get in contact with you?
I do have a website, cedric.com, and my cousin in Trinidad, Sharon Carew, who's my publicist and my PR, she also is handling most of my business here. And my manager here in Trinidad is Kenneth Clark, who's also musical conductor of the group at the Cafe Blue.
Excellent. Well, Cedric, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for sharing some of your story. We appreciate it, and wishing you all the best, and hoping to see you play some steelpan soon as well.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's
It
our
was a
pleasure.
pleasure.
Cedric Luces, author of Journey of a Panman, a memoir, here with us this morning in studio. Stay tuned. Your birthdays are coming up right after this break.